Alright, PlayStation E3 conference, let's get a wriggle on because I want to go try that Resident Evil 7 demo. Hello, Conrad, with Conrad Zimmerman, or that
Hello.
other asshole, as one of the commenters on the last video said. Leave him alone, he's a good boy. I like Conrad.
I can take it. It's fine.
I know, you handle it with great aplomb, sir.
Well, no, the comments on your videos are actually, like, way better than they could be.
Generally, I've got a
Way
nice
better.
community for the most part. I get rid of the ones that decide to go on there and be racist. That helps. But Sony had their press conference. We just finished watching it, as I'm sure most of you watching this have as well. Lot to unpack. Some of the stuff I think we're just going to have to gloss over.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Because there's stuff that deserves like quite a meaty bit of talk. So I guess we'll talk about the things that we saw last year or already knew about, and just quickly update on them. So we got Last Guardian got a release date.
Can't believe it.
Yeah,
When it's in a shop, when I see it in front
that's
of me.
it. I want it in my fucking hands. Sony can't take that back. They can, and the video game industry has demonstrated they will. But yeah, to actually see a release date next to the Last Guardian, that was cool. Yeah. Well done them. Horizon Zero Dawn. That's a terrible subtitle. Horizon Zero Dawn.
Very, very excited by what they showed.
Yeah, if what we
that's
saw...
what we see, yeah.
If what we saw wasn't bollocks, then what we saw was very good. That was the game that interested me the most last E3. And it has consistently been, among all games, probably the one I give the most shit about. It's basically Disney's Brave crossed with Monster Hunter crossed with Zoids. And I'm okay with that. Shooting robot animals with a bow, I'm good with it. It looks gorgeous, again, if it's all above board and not bullshit. So they just showed us more of that.
The action gameplay looks really fun, though.
Oh, yeah.
The dodging, and it feels like it's drawing lessons from your Dark Souls combat and really trying to make a action thing that's fluid but still has weight.
Mm-hmm.
Just judging by, I'm very interested.
Yeah.
And
looks great in motion.
I'm not a fantasy guy, as I have said before, but when you throw in high technology stuff into that, then I'm curious. You know, I like it when you throw
something that upends the table.
Yeah. So, I'm down. Show me more.
Yeah, I was hoping you took longer just to give me time to scroll down the first game blog I could think of, so that I can remind myself what happened. God of War.
God of War.
That kicked out. I will say, I mean, God of War, I like God of War as a series. Never been too, like in love with it. But that was one of the best directed demos I've ever seen. The pacing of it. That moment where he steps out of the shadow at the beginning of the demo with the beard. Like, I got chills. Like, I was like, fuck. Like, because it was... Not because I've got such a great affinity for Kratos, but it was the presentation. It was one of those things that was like, it gave him more gravitas than I normally ascribe to him, which was just fantastic direction on their part. So he's old now and he's got a kid or something.
And the visual design of him gives him more gravitas, too, I think. I mean, that beard that he has now, it lends him an air of dignity and respect. He is an elder now, and that's kind of fascinating to think about.
And I think one of the things I liked about it is they seem to have taken a few cues from Naughty Dog in terms of telling a story with visuals. Because you can see there was one point where he was clearly pissed off and just took that deep breath and then went back to talking, like, calm. Like, this, he's clearly an older guy with responsibility now. Mm-hmm. And he's just, like, working through that and clearly keeping that old rage that he had kind of in check, so...
And a vulnerability. Like,
yes.
It's so nice to see him not just be angry, invincible guy.
Exactly.
I appreciate that a lot. And it's not, in a position of... oh, rawr, my dead family vulnerability. He's got live family here that clearly matters to him. So I'm very intrigued to see how they do it ultimately. But yeah, I haven't been excited about a God of War game the way that this has sort of
Yeah.
gotten me excited about the idea of a God
It
of
looks
War
like a
game.
big departure as well. The camera angle now sort of close up and over the shoulder as opposed to more pulled back like it used to be. Like it looks like a very different game. So
It does.
yeah, I'm into it. I'm very interested in seeing where that goes. Now I'm going to mention they closed the show with it, but they announced it very early in the show. I don't know what's going on with it, but it's a very weird situation. They got Ben Studio working on a thing called Days Gone, which looked enough like The Last of Us to make me think for a while it was going to be a fake out.
Well, and I think they were trying to do a little fake out thing there too, because the trailer didn't give a clear impression of what that game was.
Mm-hmm.
And I was kind of interested. I like biker culture as conceptually. It's an interesting, fascinating subculture, and
Oh,
so
sure.
the idea of having a game that explores that with a character that has a little bit of sensitivity, I thought that was the direction this was going until they came back around to the game at the end of the presentation.
Which, it was a great sequence, and as someone on Twitter said to me, like, I mean, I don't know how the PS4 is rendering that many zombies on screen. But it looked, they moved like the zombies in the World War Z movie. The World War Z movie got a lot of shit because it's clearly not the World War Z book at all. But the way they did zombies is almost just this flowing tide, almost like water, and that's how they seem to move in this. And it was very good, but it was a weird way to end the conference. I feel like maybe there was something they were going to do instead. I know there's been talk of especially in the wake of the Orlando situation, which, by the way, the speech about that at the beginning of this conference almost made me weepy. Like it was probably the most sincere and
it was
earnest one that had been done. The cynic in me thought, well, now EA's the asshole. Because EA was the only one that kind of didn't do anything at all, which is, I'm not saying they had to.
Yeah, no, I mean...
Absolutely not. No one should be obligated to do anything, but, it was just... I mean, I at one point just tweeted, without any of the hashtags or any of the ghost shit around, I just instinctually just wrote thank you and hit enter, because it was when he mentioned LGBT, like it was just... Again, the thank you for that. That was just wonderful.
I'm that's the one thing about this, because this show is so much a commercial orgy the whole way through typically, and we have something like this happen right before it, and to see a human moment in it actually makes me more excited about this industry as a whole. It's nice to see.
Yeah, and yeah, that may be, to get back on topic before I upset any of the fucking people in the comments, that may be why it ended with Days Gone, because there has been talk that conferences had changed some of their plans.
Yeah, I've heard.
I guess to be a bit more sensitive to the current climate, which is fair enough.
Yes, I don't disagree with that. I don't begrudge anybody who opted who opts to go ahead. And do what they would normally do. I respect that, but I equally respect the decision to make a change out of a sensitivity.
That's it. It's one of those things where there's no right way to do it, so just do what you feel you can do. And back to Days Gone. It's another zombie game. Looks like a particularly extravagant zombie game. It looks their take on the zombies was very scary, very intimidating, but I'm going to have to see a bit more to see whether it's going to really stand out.
I'm not that excited. I'm more interested in Dead Rising than I am in that. And that looked to me like a lot of slightly faster paced Uncharted combat. And I'm not... I'll pass, probably. But... I'm sure it looks like it has the potential to be competent and fun. It just doesn't fire me up on what I've seen so far.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough to say. Quantic Dream. I tell you what I loved about this press conference. It was very games, which meant David Cage didn't come out and subject us to more of his pretentious shite. He didn't come out and talk bollocks. I mean, it was a well-paced presented, like, whereas I was falling asleep halfway through the Ubisoft one, the pacing of this was dead on, just game, little bit of talk when it was necessary, then back game. But Quantic Dream, they're doing the Detroit thing, Detroit Become Human or whatever. My takeaway from it is that the androids in the game are filled with Smurfberry juice. Or that ink that explodes in bags of money for bank robbers. They're full of blue stuff. The trailer looked very Quantic Dream. I think when they were talking about all the dilemmas and everything, and then you've just got these two options of just, reconcile or shoot. Something like that. Just talk the guy down or shoot him. Those are your dilemma, your choices, boiled down to two distinct button presses, which is it's a very Quantic Dream thing. I'm used to Quantic's shtick by now.
Yep.
That I'm
grateful that there was no behind the scenes making of accompaniment or anything like that. It will hopefully be something that doesn't fill me with a sense of self-loathing for having participated in the exercise.
we can but dream. We can but dream. We could Quantic Dream.
Ooh.
PlayStation VR. Let's talk about that. I was grateful that they didn't make the whole show about it.
Because they very easily could have.
It's happened in the past. Microsoft, once made an entire show about Kinect. The PlayStation Move dominated a lot of a show one year. It was a very simple case of, here's this thing, $400. We got some games coming out for it. Have a look at a few of them, and I appreciated that, especially when one of those games was Resident Evil VII, which looked potentially terrifying.
Great.
It looked potentially fucking terrifying. And, when you think about Resident Evil 6, and now you've got Resident Evil 7 looking almost like PT, after, we'll never get PT. We'll never get fucking Allison Road now because that was cancelled. And for Resident Evil to step up to the plate and be all like, "We got this." Who would have seen that coming? Yeah.
Who would have guessed?
You missed survival horror. We've got this. Resident Evil has this lockdown. Really? You're not Call of Duty anymore? Nah, we're a horror game now. Always have been. Yeah. Like I said at the top of the recording, I'm looking forward to. Not that I don't enjoy your company, Conrad, but I am looking forward to
I'm with you.
Shooting off and trying that and seeing if it's cracked up to be all that it's cracked up to be. I said the last part of the sentence before I said the first part.
You sure did.
I messed that up. But yeah, looked creepy. Looked like some of the many council houses I lived in when I was a poor kid growing up, which took some of the bite out of it. But yeah, cool. What else was VR?
Well, Sony's VR game was just kind of strong in general. I mean,
yeah, it made me more interested in VR than anything the Rift's done.
They came out basically and said, we have relationships with the best publishers that make games.
Yeah.
And we're going to get all of our friends together and get them to support this platform out the gate. And that's great.
Yeah, they leveraged their friends, and
that's the Vita strategy too.
Yeah.
And I want to see how buddy their friends are 18 months after the release of PlayStation
That's
VR.
my one thing. I'm at the point where I'm now, okay, virtual reality. This is well priced. It's clearly, unlike Oculus or the Vive, this is a first time I can easily get into this. So I am willing to have a very intrigued conversation with virtual reality right now. But PlayStation Vita, PlayStation Move, the other shit that Sony's done that they just gave up on. Because Sony can be like a magpie and it will just drop what's in its beak when it sees something shiny and it will go do something else.
This is a fundamental problem with hardware peripherals in video games. If it's not integral to the experience, if you cannot have the entertainment without it, then you're user base is fractured, and you might as well not have it a lot of the time.
Yeah.
So what Sony needs to do is normalize the idea of PlayStation VR as a concept. It's core to the PlayStation experience. They need to keep the pressure on, and they need to figure out some way of subsidizing it for a couple of years.
Yeah,
and that's
they've
a
often
huge
proven
challenge.
Yeah, they've often proven unwilling to
Right,
go to
so
bat for their own products like
If
that.
anybody at this point, between Sony and Oculus and HTC and all of these players that are in the field, if there's anybody out there that is positioned well to sort of be the tide that raises up other boats and helps VR become mainstream, it's probably Sony.
Yeah,
And
I would agree with that.
They're showing how they might be able to do that by pairing big names with their VR platform. They'll need to provide opportunities for equivalent experiences from other smaller sources to buoy that. But the potential's there. It's theirs to lose, ultimately.
Yeah.
And I think that how Sony deals with this is going to have ramifications for everybody else that's trying to do VR right now.
Yeah, and they came up with some strong stuff out the gate. Resident Evil 7, obviously. Batman Arkham VR. They didn't really have anything to show for it.
Rocksteady, though.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Okay. All right.
It on paper, it's
Right.
a big win. The
And
audience
Mark
was cheering.
Hamill. There was Mark
There was
Hamill
Mark
there.
Hamill, yeah. I mean, if the whole experience is you put the VR on and it's Mark Hamill's Joker just berating you for an hour, I'll give you $40 for that. I'm
my
all right
money.
with that. They had Farpoint as well. That was their the shooter they had, the weird sci-fi looking thing. Looked all right. That looked very here's a VR thing.
Yeah.
And also Final Fantasy 15. I guess this isn't a Final Fantasy 15 VR game, but it's like maybe
An
another
experience.
player can put it on, but you can play as Prompto. That's just a Square Enix name as far as I'm concerned at the moment. And you play as Prompto when you put the VR helmet on. It wasn't clear to me, maybe I wasn't paying attention exactly how that works, whether that's a standalone or whether you can just swap things in-game or not, but either way, we're in a world where Final Fantasy is selling a VR headset, so that's interesting. And I think that was it for the major... Oh, no, there was the X-Wing thing as well, Star Wars Battlefront X-Wing VR mission. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Cool.
But again, that's an experience you can sell hardware on.
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And it's one that is just in a lot of ways better from the perspective of VR immersion, because you're in a cockpit, you're not moving anywhere. That's probably the killer app for PlayStation VR.
Yeah, I mean, when it's time to sell these things at the end of the year and you're doing TV commercials and you lead out the gate with, you're in a fucking X-Wing, sunshine, that's strong. That is a strong thing. The other headsets don't have that.
Right.
So, yeah, that is, like you say, they are prime in position to be the ones to... And especially with the way the PS4 as a system has been selling. They are so well positioned to be the VR people. Not necessarily providing the highest quality VR experience, but the easiest to get into. And with the biggest game names. So, yeah, it's kind of exciting. And I don't normally give a single solitary shit about VR, but this one is affordable and within easy reach. So now I care.
I am significantly more confident in the prospects of VR as a platform that people will play video games on 5 years from now than I was 2 hours ago.
Mm-hmm. That's strong. That's strong words. I'm not sure I'm as
I had almost no expectation whatsoever that was a possibility.
Yeah.
I want to make that abundantly clear. I would, if you'd asked me 2 hours ago
you'd have said
if
fuck
VR
off.
was going to be a thing we did in 5 years, I'd have said fuck no.
But yeah, that's VR. They went straight from that into Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, which, to its testament, it took me about a minute to work out it was Call of Duty. that makes it the most interesting Call of Duty E3 demo I've ever seen. Because for a minute it didn't look like COD. A lot of people on Twitter were expressing surprise. They were like, wait, that is Call of Duty, but that looks energetic. That looks different. I'm sure when we actually play it, it will be very, very familiar, because there's no way they're going to dare stray too far from the path. But that was the first Call of Duty E3 demonstration that I wasn't immediately bored to tears by in years. So, well done them.
Well played.
Well played them. I hope it's good. I mean, I would love another good Call of Duty. It's been years since I played one that I could truly stand up and say that was a good Call of Duty. So I hope it's good. Crash Bandicoot. The new news they had was he's going to be in Skylanders. Hooray, etc. But they're doing the fully remastered trilogy of Crash, Crash 2, and Warped. That's the third one, isn't it?
That might be right.
Yeah.
I tried to play them when they first came out, and I never got into it. It wasn't. I didn't have a lot of fun with that series.
That's a shame.
I guess I'm sure that there's a lot of people who have very fond memories of it.
I adored the first one. I
Yeah.
absolutely adored the first one. So I was very excited to hear that. I'm going to play the shit out of that. I don't think I ever played Warped. I'm fairly certain I played some of Cortex Strikes Back. It was the first one that I just spent so long, like ridiculous amounts of time playing. But yeah,
I
I'm all
remember
on
there
board
was
with that.
one where he was climbing on the backs of people and riding them around a lot. That was a little more recent. That's the last memory of Crash Bandicoot I have. I can't remember what that was, but it wasn't particularly fun.
I think what excites me most about it is the potential future ramifications, because it was mentioned on stage that a deal had been worked out between Sony and Activision, which makes me wonder if this is the start of something more. The
Like
remaster
new
and the Skylander stuff is just, it's the groundwork for an all-new Crash game, potentially made by Sony, and if so, potentially with Naughty Dog's help, considering Crash is Naughty Dog's baby. And of course, Crash Bandicoot had a cameo in Uncharted 4, so, could be. If they
Turn
ever...
on the Speculatron 5000.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to hazard a guess and to try and predict it, but if the news comes that Naughty Dog's doing a Crash Bandicoot game, that would be one of the more exciting things that I've heard of, if only from a nostalgic standpoint. So that's that. Lego Star Wars The Force Awakens. You can play a demo of that now if you want. Looked fun, looked funny. It's a Lego game.
Yeah, I don't know. There's much that needs to be said about
not
it.
a lot to say about that. Insomniac's making a Spider-Man game.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll do fine.
I like Insomniac.
I like Insomniac. I like Spider-Man. The trailer was nice. I didn't believe it for a second, but it looks nice.
Well, I mean, people, they're very cynical about Spider-Man games because a lot of them are shit. But when I look back, I think people maybe give it a bit of a harder time than as a game franchise, because I thought that the what was the one? Well, I thought the Amazing Spider-Man was okay. The first one. Amazing Spider-Man 2 was rubbish. But the first Amazing Spider-Man game, they actually did a good job with it. And then that other one that had Val Kilmer in it, the man who was the Bat, I forget what it was called. It wasn't Shattered Dimensions, that was the other one. This one had the future Spider-Man and the other Spider-Man, different Spider-Man in it, a past and a future one. And it was actually a lot better than I think people gave it credit for. So
the first couple Neversoft Spider-Man games were phenomenal. I mean,
those, of course, yeah.
There's a rich history of decent Spider-Man out there.
I honestly think, its legacy is a lot better than people assume. So I am very willing to not write this one off. I'd say unwilling to write it off.
And this isn't, Beamdog.
No.
It's Insomniac, so the confidence level could be a bit higher. Yeah,
it's got a chance.
I have faith they can do it.
And which leads us, I guess, to...
Speaking of things to have faith on, what? Is that the segue?
I guess. I guess. I'm not a Segway guy myself, but I'm just going to come out and say it. Norman Reedus' ass! We saw his
Was
computer
lovely.
bum.
Quite lovely.
Yes, so this Hideo Kojima walks out, said, I'm back. The word Kickstarter was never said, which was the big shock of that was the megaton. Oh, no, we've got this. We don't need you. We've got it in the works. Hideo Kojima is making a game with Norman Reedus after, of course, Silent Hills fell apart, and that was going to be a Reedus and Del Toro and Kojima joint. I couldn't help, shouting "fuck Konami" along with everyone else. Sure. I mean, I'm going to make this Jimquisition "fuck Konami" news segment, because why not?
I saw a tweet. Somebody said that the orchestra was chanting "fuck Konami."
What?
I don't know if that's true.
What in the dick? I would be so proud if that was... I would have so much personal pride in that if that happened, but...
I would love that to be true.
I would love that to be true. But either way, he came out...
We're going to assume it's true.
Yeah. I mean, it's a huge feather in Sony's cap. They've got Kojima Productions on their side. And
I think Kojima's getting what he wants to. I think when he was stepping out on the stage, my thought was, I was ready a long time ago for Kojima to not make Metal Gear.
Yes.
Anymore.
Yes.
And it's not that I don't love Metal Gear or love Kojima working on Metal Gear. That's not it. But I know he has other places he can go.
He wanted to leave it for years, and the fans wouldn't let him, and now he's free, and it's not like the fans can blame him for this. He was...
And so when the footage leading up to Norman Reedus' gorgeous computerized arse.
Norman Reedus.
Norman Reedus. But the first thing I see are handcuffs that are undone. And I can't help but feel that symbolism right off the bat.
Yeah, well, he's a bugger for it. He's a bugger for symbolism.
Yeah, and apparently Norman's had a C-section.
Apparently. I was wondering, is that his little baby?
I hope I look that good after I have a kid. That's all I'm saying.
The trailer didn't show us much. Kojima said it was all rendered in engine, and unlike most people in the industry, when he says something's rendered in engine, I tend to believe him.
I'm inclined to believe him.
Yeah, I don't think he's ever bullshit with regards to that kind of stuff before, so I'm inclined to believe that's what the game will look like. Norman Reedus standing up, some desolate world. You see dead whales and shit on a beach, and then just those mysterious figures in the sky. Didn't tell us much. It was again very Kojima. It was, I'm excited by this, and I don't know why, because I'm not being told dick. So it was a case of just really beautiful presentation. And it's called Death Stranding, which again, it's a very Kojima name. And yeah, I am so excited. I'm happy for him, I'm happy that he does have those handcuffs off. And he's doing it. As someone who went through this with my own shit, obviously on a smaller scale, but as someone who did leave the corporate working space, it was one of the most energizing things I ever went through. So to see him on stage like grinning and just I'm back and all this stuff, like I'm like, you go you. Like I can understand that. It's beautiful. There are a few things more beautiful to me than seeing a creative person take those shackles off and just seeing what they do
just
next.
Be liberated to do what they want to do. Yeah. I absolutely agree. And it was written all over his face. He was so happy to be able to come out on a stage and show something again. I'm thrilled. I can't wait to see what it actually is, and I'm sure we are years from playing it, but all the same, it's nice to know he's out there and being the mad wizard he is.
He's back. He's back, and Sony did damn well. That was
Oh, absolutely.
That was
You could put together every other performance in this, and it still wouldn't match what with Sony.
Yeah, I think
put down
Sony's
on
really.
this.
I mean, especially with Nintendo now, not really doing anything. They've got their Treehouse stuff
Yeah.
now. No real press conferences, and they've done directs. Sony for the past few years has been the finale in terms of press conferences, with Nintendo as a kind of palate cleanser afterwards. Almost like just the laid back, chill sort of post show, which it's cool, but it does mean that Sony's always had a bit more responsibility than every other company doing a show, because they're closing it for the public. The rest of the week, E3 is happening. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It starts. But as far as the public's concerned, that's E3 done for us, and then we pick up little bits of news throughout the week. So Sony's always and Sony has stepped up to the plate admirably, I think, in the past few years, to make sure that they close the public-facing part of E3 high, and
yeah, they've risen to the occasion,
yes.
and they've done it this year as well.
And a lot of people were like, how Sony going to top the whole Project Scorpio thing? And I think just by shutting their mouths and showing game after game after game, they were like, we don't need to talk hardware. We've got all of this software to talk about.
That's a really good way of putting it.
Which ultimately is more important, because I care
what
about
good's the
games.
hardware if there's nothing in it? What good is the open world game if there's nothing to do with it? Where's my vibrator?
Exactly. You have to listen to one of the earlier videos we did for that to make sense. That's how we make sure you listen to the content. So yeah, I think they did damn well, and I think Microsoft did pretty good as well. I don't want to say, I'm not going to do one of those who won E3 things.
I'm not fanboying over Sony. They did a very good presentation, and some of the stuff in there I think is a little dubious, but I'm holding out hope. Microsoft had a solid showing.
Yeah.
And Bethesda did as well. It didn't drop bombs the way that this did.
Yeah. But it was they did
their
work.
Show.
And it was
yeah.
There's been a lot of people saying it was a very boring show. There was a lot of dire stuff in some stuff. EA and Ubisoft weren't great and all that stuff. And the PC gaming show happened. I didn't bother.
I had it on in the background and didn't really pay much attention
I started
to it.
doing that. Then I realised, I've got enough time for a wank before Ubisoft. Turn this off. And then I just watched Capri Anderson tribbing with someone. So that was my afternoon. But yeah, that was E3 as far as, us watching live streams concerned.
Tomorrow,
oh God, is it?
Yeah.
I might not. I postponed my doctor physical therapy stuff for today, so this might be the last video we do.
Yeah, I don't know that it's necessary to talk about Square Enix. We've already forgotten Final Fantasy 15 existed, and then remembered that it exists again, and we're just gonna see another gameplay thing of that.
Yeah, I'll keep an eye on it.
Some Hitman.
If I'm around, I'll do the usual live tweet thing. But as far as our E3 Jimpressions stuff goes, this will be it from us.
I think that's us done. Yeah.
Thank you all for listening. People have been... I wasn't sure whether people would give a shit about me doing this, but it seems some people have. So thanks for watching / listening, because, it's mostly audio. And thank you, Conrad, for joining me for these.
That's been my pleasure,
It's been a good
sir.
laugh. And
had fun.
Yeah, we must do it again sometime, maybe next year.
All right.
And otherwise, you can catch Conrad Zimmerman with myself at the Spin-Off Doctors. Not the Spin Doctors, we're not those guys. The Spin-Off Doctors.
We are two princes.
Yes, we are. That's at thejimquisition.com. You can also see us in an improv comedy podcast, Fistshark Marketing, at fistshark.com, which is sometimes funny. We actually have... a joke.
God willing, we have a funny episode.
We got an episode with like a joke in it next. It's like on Friday, so that'll be good.
We're always excited when we find it.
Oh yeah, one of those rare special occasions. Thank you all for listening, watching, and we will speak to you at some other point. Bye.
Bye.